Nancy Drew. Just we're talking about Nancy Drew, and it is Drewson centric. I was not prepared.
It was hot and heavy, and also just heavy in a way that I was not expecting. Like that came out of nowhere. But oh my God, this episode, the Whisper Box, was really making Nancy walk through every facet of her life and like reevaluate her choices and her emotions in a way that I think is going to be really beneficial for her, because we talk about her personal growth and journey all the time, and this is like the first time where she's like it hit her right in the face and she could not ignore it. But my gosh, this episode, I've never wanted to be right about a theory, and then it happened with her mom.
Right. When it happened, I was like, this was Reed's theory.
It happened sooner than I thought, which, I mean, cool. I don't know. It was hard to watch. It was very, oh my God. Before I gush about Kennedy again, let's get into Drewson in the episode.
Yeah.
I think it was so big for them as a send-off.
It felt like the period at the end of the sentence.
It very much did.
Yeah, when watching this episode, I was thinking, what did I think about this? And because you felt so much about it all at once, and I think the best way to sum it up was emotional roller coaster. Like, you went from one feeling to the other, right? Snap in a couple of seconds. But I do feel like the Drewson relationship was at the heart of it, and you were on her mind, Sabrina, the whole time throughout.
The first scene where like they kissed, I immediately messaged Sabrina. I was like, I don't know if you watch, but buckle up. It's like it's gonna hit us like a Mack truck.
Oh, I was already going through. I told you that when you messaged me, I had to pause it because I had to go do something else, and I was already 8 minutes in and a mess. And it's because like first of all, I love how quickly Nancy realizes this is not her world. It is
that's our girl.
Immediately.
Always one step ahead of the game.
I think we're like 3 minutes in, she figures it out in the kitchen or something. She's like, this is not right. No, it's at the claws, and she's like, this is not right. No, something's not right here. And I think the biggest giveaway was George's personality.
I love that was the deciding factor.
Just like bright lipstick, kind, hugging her, wearing like a pearl bracelet, and I was like, this is not George. Not George at all. But it's interesting that Ace was the same. For some reason, Bess was a hippie. Besides the fact that I guess because she lives in a van, and Nick was very much the same, just happy. And I like that this episode took two relationships, Nancy, Nick, and her mom, and her closure. She got to say some things she would never be. Well, first she couldn't say to her mom because her mom was unfortunately passed, and because she didn't have the courage to say certain things to Nick, so she got to like literally work through her feelings on that relationship in a fantasy world without having to talk to him in the real world about it. It's a perfect Nancy Drew solution for her. But I do like that at the end, the way out wasn't even in Nick's house, because that's not what your real issue is. Like you liked him, I dare say even love him, but that didn't work out. The issue was your trauma surrounding your mom's death, and therefore the door has to be in your bedroom. I was like, oh God, I love these writers.
Yeah. And the fact that she woke up in the room and she walked past the door in the end of the last episode, it feels like it was right there all along. I love it when they take these episodes where a character feels like there's a point of no return for them, and basically all they need to do is learn something about themselves. And the fact that it got to do that, and it feels so simple to say it out loud, but this episode was anything but simple. There was nowhere to turn to get away from the trauma. Every single one of the arcs or the plots in the episode, there was something really emotional or like heavy hitting going on. And it reeled you in more, but it also made you want to switch it off. I can't do this anymore. The fact that Nancy had to address the fact that her relationship with Nick could have been different. I feel like that was very much seemed like the core of the episode at the start, but then of course it was more about the fact that she never got to say goodbye to her mom at the end. But yes, we didn't learn so much about Nancy in this episode. The thing I like about this episode is that Nancy learned a lot about herself. And I feel like that was something that needed to happen for a long time. And this show has kind of been in a Drewson farewell tour for like the last 3 or 4 episodes. And like, I love them that get to the point because we don't need this trauma. I feel like this was the love letter to them to say goodbye to them that it needed. And what a love letter it was.
It was.
Okay, I have 3 things that just popped in my head while you guys were talking. I'm going to try to run through them without forgetting one of them. I think 2 are connected. At the end, when Nancy's doing the whole like Wizard of Oz, like, and you were there, and you were there, and you were there. And Nick was like, was I there? And she was like, yeah, you were there. And then George calls them into the office to do the restaurant business. And she was about to tell him, like, and there was one more thing. And then he has to go away. And George lingered when she went to the office and looked back at them, but then fully went into the office. And then Nancy watches them in the office, and I think in that moment she's like, I'm not going to tell him what we did in my dream world. I think that needs to stay with me. It seems like she did learn that she no longer should string that poor man along or interfere with his life when she sees that he could be happy with George. But also in that scene, when she's kind of like staring at them through the doorway, doesn't Ace pop up?
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
I was like,
the nest watch has returned.
Yes.
I love him. Okay, so that was the 2 things. And then circling back to Kennedy being an amazing actress, that scene at the table with her mom.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
Where's her? Can I submit her retroactively for an Emmy for that scene? Like, what? Like, I got so distracted like after watching that because I was like, she was so good. Like, why wasn't she ever not like in a conversation for any? Like, why did I never hear about how great of a performer she is that I had to like rewind because I missed the next scene after that? But oh my God, I don't even know how to explain how good she is in those moments where there's so much going on in Nancy's mind, where she's like trying not to be outwardly grieving for her mom, but like in the inside she's trying to be. It was just so much, that scene, and I would like to rewatch it 500 times.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had that written down as one of the main talking points as well. And the thing I loved about the most is that, or when I love about Kennedy's emotional scenes, is that she doesn't have to say anything. There was like little to no dialogue coming from Nancy in that particular close-up when she just watched her mom on the phone, which means it was all face, all acting, all eyes, and goosebumps watching it.
She went to the Lauren Graham school of being able to hit you in the gut emotionally with just a look. There's a look that Lauren Graham does so often in Gilmore Girls and Parenthood where like she just like grins, but you can tell on the inside she's like so overwhelmed. You know what I mean? Michael has seen it before, and like her eyes are kind of welling up. Like, oh my God, that look from Lauren Graham just gives me chills. And Kennedy has that same kind of ability to just say so much and make you feel so much without like overacting and doing too much.
There's so many layers to that scene because she's getting to do something I believe she didn't get to do for her mom before, because her dad
to be
was
there
the
for her.
Yeah, was the one who was there with her when she received the news, but also to get the news she wished she had gotten and be the one with her mom to have that moment of joy. And then the moment like the sadness hits because she knows that she didn't get to live that. So like you have the joy of this version of her mom getting to go off and go on a date with her dad. And then you have like Nancy sitting in her own grief, but also trying to like hold on to this little moment. It's an excellent episode. Like there's just so many things that they allow Nancy to do that she did not do, that she gets to be honest with herself about, while still like seeding things that have happened before. I love that she can hear her friends, and the way that she can hear her friends is those little blue envelopes that her mom's letter was in, which I think is a lovely way of saying that she loves them. Just like she loves her mom. Or Beanie Watch. We have a Beanie Watch too.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing.
Up.
When she came down the stairs and she was like, "Has anybody seen my beanie?" I was like, I perked up because I was like, "Oh, we're getting beanie content." But I didn't really get a reading on if there was a metaphor surrounding the beanie in this episode. I'll have to continue to unpack that because it it didn't feel like it related to my original theory that like she puts the beanie on when she's trying to be like lone wolf, I'm strong, I don't need anybody else, and then she takes it off when she like opens herself up to be vulnerable and accept community and help. I don't know. Did you guys get a reading on the beanie?
Well, yeah, on that, using your philosophy, I kind of did, because she was kind of pushing the fictional version of Nick away by not telling him the truth. And she just mission. And like logically, she should have been following the mission. The woman was about to die. So yeah, but she let him in that moment. And I feel like that was the moment she just kind of like was like, okay, stop pushing. And she had to be with him in that moment. And I think when it dawned on her what she could have had, she let him take the hat off. And I think that was an important character moment. So yeah, using your philosophy, Reed, I did kind of get that from it. So I feel like even though it's fictional beanie, it had the same impact as the real beanie.
I think there is also another element in play, because I remember when we talked about it the first time, Sabrina mentioned that her mom made it.
Yeah.
So I think there is a connection with her mom, because her mom is the one that finds the beanie when Nancy can't find it in this episode. She's like, oh, your beanie's in the living room or wherever it was. I was like, okay, I'm gonna jot that down and remember that. I don't know.
I love Beanie Watch because it is, I agree with you. It's her security blanket because her mom's the one who made it for her. And it does come off, like Michael says, after she opens up to Nick, who convinces her not to go charging off into the rain to go find everything. I love Drewson. I love Drewson so much. I actually I finished once she says goodbye and they have that really lovely kiss. I'm just like, I feel robbed. I'm not gonna lie, I do. But this is what the show has decided to do. And they really did put the period on it, because not only is Ace the one she talks to after she decides she's not gonna tell Nick, but he makes that statement about, well, if he's your ex, don't you not have to worry about exes? Yeah, and that ends it.
Yeah, it felt very important that statement came from him. I don't know whether I was reading too much into that, whether this is the side effects of too much time in Nest
No,
Watch,
I mean, everything happens for a reason. And I think the writers on the show understand that more than, there are some shows where it's like, why did that character say that? You just did that for convenience. But I think in the show, everything tends to happen for a reason. So
yes,
I don't think you're reading too far into it.
Also, because she wakes up in Nick's arms after the note from Ace falls on her chest. It's Ace's note that wakes her up. So Nace Watch is here. Nace Watch is not going anywhere because
I just got chills.
Because that's literally what happens. She's in Nick's arms, and then it's Ace's note that wakes her up, and then she comes to realize everybody else is talking to her. Which love that.
Yeah, the writers work in mysterious ways.
And then the end, she finds the Tiffany's lockbox, which reveals that Tiffany was getting close to solving Lucy's murder.
And Lucy wasn't happy about that. I don't know what's happening in that video.
Some mess that Nancy's going to unravel next week.
I know.
I was distracted in that scene. Sorry to interrupt just for a moment, because we always have a CW or CW actor watch. And that was, I don't know if you recognized her, Sabrina.
Yes,
that was Captain Kramer from The Flash. The woman, remember us ranting about the inconsistent Captain Kramer? Yes, that was her. I was like, is it? It is.
So different. She's so different in this show. And isn't her voice also different? I felt like it was a little higher and softer.
Softer, definitely, yeah.
My question though was how does she have all of these secrets? Or I know she was keeping them for a reason, probably to keep the mess out of her own affairs, but it seemed like she had a really important piece of the Tiffany Hudson murder puzzle, and she did not. I guess it's smart to not get involved. Never mind. Retract. Do your thing.
It's just Nancy was really smart though, because I'm sorry, I would have not gotten that historical sign logo from what she got on the card, and it was the six horseshoes together.
Yeah, that was
poor Tiffany. She'd been without solving. Her case had been not solved.
I remember, was it the third episode when Nick had all the clues from Tiffany to solve? I was like, I like how the show works traditionally Nancy Drew centric kind of plots into the episode. which is really busy doing its own supernatural dramatic thing. But this episode was kind of like that as well, and that they had the mystery to solve with the little clues. They had to go to the cemetery and figure out the clues. And you know what absolutely took me out was Ace and Bess trying to guess what the clues meant, and they came up with like wrestling moves, song lyrics. What was the other one?
She said strippers, and he was like, yes.
Yeah, opera sounds.
Oh, I love them.
They're the best duo. And I do love that everyone got happy. And even Ryan got to be happy because he was building a playground for the youth of the town.
Maybe that's in his future in real life, we'll say.
Maybe. If he stops being shellfish. But is there anything else for Nancy Drew besides the fact that we love this show?
I don't think so. What was with the CW this week? Really putting us through it.
Very much.
Emotional.